So, let us continue with VAPT. In the last lecture, we saw what is the VAPT and the common security measures hackers use to find out the bugs. In this lecture, you will learn the 4 phases of vulnerability assessment and penetration testing. Along with, you will also see the common tools used by security experts to perform VAPTs and which pieces of information you should focus on gathering information about a target. So, let us get started. Vulnerability assessments and scans should be performed on a regular basis. IT environments are changing all the time and new threats continue to emerge. So, it's essential to identify and address vulnerabilities quickly to limit cybersecurity risk. VAPT scanning is only a part of a vulnerability assessment process. Other processes such as penetration testing can identify different types of threats to IT in your organization. Penetration testing complements vulnerability scanning and is useful for determining if vulnerability can be acted on and whether that action would cause damage, data loss, or other issues. So, as you can see on the screen, the 4 phases of vulnerability assessment are initial assessment, system baseline definition, vulnerability scan, and report creation. So let us explore each one of these steps in detail. Initial assessment. Identify the assets and define the risk and critical value for each device, such as a security assessment vulnerability scanner. It's important to identify at least the importance of the device that you have on your network, or at least the devices that you'll test. It is also important to understand if the device can be accessed by any member of your company or just administrators and authorized users. You have to understand the strategic factors and have a clear understanding of the details as well. The next is system baseline definition. Gather information about the systems before the vulnerability assessment. At least review if the device has open ports, processes, and services that shouldn't be opened. Also understand the approved drivers and software and the basic configuration of each device. A perimeter device, it shouldn't have a default administrator username and configuration. Try to perform a banner grabbing or learn what kind of public information should be accessible based on the configuration baseline. Does device send logs into security information and events management platform? Are the logs at least stored in the central repository? Gather public information and vulnerabilities regarding the device platform, version vendor, and other relevant details. The next step is to perform the vulnerability scan. Use the right policy on your scanner to accomplish the desired results. We will be seeing how to create a policy in the next lecture. Prior to starting the vulnerability scan, look for any compliance requirements based on your company's posture and business and know the best time and date to perform the scan. It's important to recognize the client industry context and then determine if the scan can be performed all at once or if a segmentation is needed. For the best results, use related tools or plugins on the vulnerability assessment platform such as Nessus, Drupal Scan, Firewall Scan, Stealth Scan, Aggressive Scan. Then you have to also use the OAP's top 10 checks, then payment card industry checks, health insurance checks, and many more. And the last step is to create a report. The fourth and the most important step is a report creation. Pay attention to the details and then try to add extra value on the recommendations phase. To get real value from the final report, add recommendations based on the initial assessment goals. Also, add risk mitigation techniques based on the criticalness of the assets and results. However, it is important to keep the following details in mind and realize that high and medium vulnerabilities should have a detailed report that includes name of the vulnerability, date of the discovery, score based upon CVE, a detailed description of the vulnerability, details regarding the affected systems, details regarding the process to the correct vulnerability, a proof of concept, if possible, and a blank field for the owner of the vulnerability. Good thinking skills are really not at all that complicated, but you need a good knowledge of the fundamentals of penetration testing and the tools. So, which are the tools that are used by security experts during penetration testing? There are three categories: host-based, network-based, and database-based. So, Cain and Abel, Metasploit is an open source framework, Cisco Scanner, Wireshark, Nmap, Nessus, SQL Diet, SQL Map, Database Scan, Acunetics are the tools. In our course, we'll be using Metasploitable, then Wireshark, then Nmap, Nessus, MySQL, and other scanners. So, while performing VAPT, what should you look for? This is the most important question and then comes down to narrowing your scope. You should look for related domains and subdomains, then the technology and programming languages used, website history, default files and login pages, other services running, software versions and utilities, default users, publicly disclosed vulnerabilities, and other factors. Let us have a quick recap. We saw the 4 phases of VAPT, then we saw the common tools used by VAPT and which pieces of information you should focus on. It is important to carry out the VAPT in the following steps because there is a perfect path to the result. In the next lecture, we will start vulnerability assessment using Nessus.